The first time I knew my parents had already chosen sides was not when I was a child. It was the night they handed my sister a house and handed me a joke. It was my father's birthday dinner, a big one, 60 years old. They booked a private room at a fancy restaurant downtown. White tablecloths, soft lighting, waiters who kept refilling glasses before they were empty. My sister, Claire, arrived late, like always. She walked in glowing, confident, already talking loudly about real estate prices and good neighborhoods. Her husband carried a thick white envelope. My parents stood up as soon as they saw her. My mom hugged her like she hadn't seen her in years, even though they talked every day. My dad tapped his glass for attention. "We have a surprise," he said, smiling proudly. Everyone turned toward Claire. My father handed her the envelope. Inside was a check, a large one. He cleared his throat. "This," he said, "is for the down payment on your first home." The table erupted. Applause, gasps, congratulations. My mom wiped her eyes. "Our little girl," she said, "finally settling down properly." Claire covered her mouth like she was shocked, even though I knew she had already toured houses with them. She stood up and hugged them both. "I promise," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I'll make you proud." Then my dad looked at me and smiled. "Oh," he said, waving his hand casually, "we didn't forget you." He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a small, colorful envelope, a scratch card, still sealed. Laughter broke out immediately. Someone at the table chuckled. My uncle leaned over and whispered, "Guess they know you like gambling." My mother laughed too. "It's just for fun," she said quickly. "You never know, right?" Claire smirked. "Don't spend it all in one place," she joked. I forced a smile and took the card. It cost $2. I could tell. The shiny silver coating reflected the chandelier light. I wanted to disappear. I sat there while they talked about interest rates, house sizes, future grandchildren. No one asked me anything. No one noticed my hands shaking. I slipped the scratch card into my bag, unopened. That night, when the check was mentioned again, my father raised his glass. "Family," he said proudly. "We always take care of our own." I nodded, because that's what I always did. But as I drove home alone later, I kept thinking about that word, family, and how strange it felt to never truly belong to it. I didn't scratch the card that night. I tossed it on my kitchen counter, face down, like it didn't matter, like I didn't care. But deep down, something small and stubborn inside me whispered, what if this time the joke wasn't on me? The next morning, I stood in my kitchen staring at the scratch card like it might explode. Sunlight came through the window, hitting the silver coating just right. I almost didn't do it. I told myself it was stupid. $2, a joke gift. But my hands moved anyway. I grabbed a coin from the counter and scratched the first box, then the second, then the third. 3 matching symbols appeared. I frowned. I checked the back of the card. Match 3 symbols to win. My heart skipped once. I scratched another row. 3 more matching symbols. My chest tightened. I scratched the entire card carefully now, afraid of damaging it. By the time I finished, every prize box matched. Every single one. At the bottom, there was a number. A long one. Too long. I laughed nervously. "There's no way," I whispered to the empty room. I pulled out my phone and opened the lottery website. My fingers shook as I typed the ticket code. The page loaded, then refreshed, then froze. And then the words appeared. Winner. Jackpot tier. My stomach dropped. I sat down hard on the kitchen chair. Air felt thick, like I couldn't breathe. I refreshed the page again. Same result. Again. Same. I checked the date, the game, the numbers. Everything matched. I wasn't rich yet. I knew that. There were steps, verification, taxes. But one thing was clear. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't luck. This was life-changing. I locked my apartment door and called the lottery office. They told me not to sign the ticket yet. They told me to keep it safe. They told me to come in the next day. When I hung up, my hands were numb. I walked to the counter and picked up the card again. It looked exactly the same. Thin cardboard, cheap print. Worth more than every gift my family had ever given me combined. My phone buzzed. A message from my mom. "Did you scratch it yet?" I stared at the screen. Then another text came in. "Your dad says if you win $5, you owe us dinner." I didn't reply. I didn't tell anyone. I spent the entire day in a fog. At work, I nodded through meetings. I smiled at coworkers. Inside, my world was cracking open. That night, my sister posted on social media a picture of the envelope, the check. Her caption read, "Grateful for parents who believe in investing in the right future." I closed the app, and for the first time in my life, I made a decision just for myself. I would verify the ticket. I would claim the money, and I would say nothing. Not yet. Because suddenly, I didn't just want to prove I mattered. I wanted to see how my family treated me before they knew who I really was. For the next 2 weeks, I said nothing. I went to work like normal, paid my bills, answered my parents' calls, listened to them talk endlessly about Claire's house. Every conversation somehow came back to her. "The kitchen is bigger than we expected," my mom said one evening on the phone. "The neighborhood is perfect," my dad added. "Property is always a smart investment," Claire said proudly, like she had earned it herself. No one asked how I was. No one asked if I needed help. No one even mentioned the scratch card again, which told me everything. Behind the scenes, things were moving fast. The lottery office verified the ticket. The prize was real. After taxes, the amount was still more money than I had ever imagined. They assigned me a financial advisor, a lawyer, a security consultant. I signed papers in rooms with glass walls and quiet voices. Each signature felt unreal, like I was signing someone else's life. One afternoon, my dad called me. His voice was casual. "Hey," he said, "quick question." "Sure," I replied. "Claire's closing costs came out higher than expected," he said. "We were wondering if you could help a little. Just a small loan." I laughed softly. "Help how?" I asked. "Well," he said, clearing his throat, "you don't have many expenses, and you're single. It wouldn't hurt you." There it was, the assumption. I told him I'd think about it. That night, my mom texted me a picture of Claire standing in front of a house, keys in hand, big smile. The caption read, "Family makes sacrifices for success." I stared at the photo for a long time. Then I locked my phone. The next Sunday, my parents invited me to dinner. They were unusually warm. My mom cooked my favorite dish. My dad poured me wine without asking. Claire barely looked at me. Halfway through the meal, my father leaned back in his chair. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "money isn't everything." I raised an eyebrow. "But family unity," he continued, "that's priceless." My mom nodded. "We should all be helping each other more," she said, smiling at me. I knew what was coming. I smiled back. "Of course," I said. They relaxed instantly. After dinner, as I was leaving, my dad said something that stuck with me. "You're lucky, you know," he said. "You don't have big responsibilities like Claire does." I walked out into the cold night air, and that's when I realized something painful and clear. To them, I wasn't the child who needed support. I was the backup plan, the spare, the one who existed only when money was needed. And the worst part? They had no idea that everything was about to change. The lottery office scheduled the press conference for the following Friday. They gave me options: stay anonymous, use a trust, appear publicly. I chose to appear, not because I wanted attention, but because I was done being invisible. My lawyer warned me gently. "Once this is public," he said, "your life will not be the same." I already knew that. The morning of the announcement, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Group chats, family messages, news alerts. A local headline popped up on my screen. "Local resident wins record lottery prize." No name yet, just speculation. That afternoon, my parents invited me over. Urgently. My mom sounded anxious. "They're saying someone in our area won," she said. "Isn't that crazy?" I smiled into the phone. "Very," I said. When I arrived, Claire was already there. She was pacing. Her husband's on his phone, refreshing news pages. My dad turned up the TV. The press conference began. The host introduced the winner. A pause. Then my name appeared on the screen. Claire's mouth fell open. My mother gasped. My father stood up so fast his chair scraped loudly against the floor. That's not possible, my mom whispered. The camera cut to me, standing at a podium. Calm, composed, smiling politely. I never imagined this would happen, I said, but I'm grateful. The room went silent. My dad's phone slipped from his hand. Claire stared up the TV like she was watching a stranger. The interview ended. The room stayed frozen. Then my mom rushed toward me. In real life, not the screen. She grabbed my hands. "Oh my God, this is amazing! We're so proud of you!" We. My father nodded quickly. "Yes, so proud." Claire finally spoke. "You're rich?" she asked. I shrugged lightly. "I suppose." That night, they treated me differently. They laughed louder at my jokes. They asked about my plans. They talked about vacations, about investments, about family legacy. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. Their love had conditions. And now that I met them, they wanted in. My parents invited me to dinner again that same week. This time, it wasn't casual. My mom set the table with the good plates. My dad opened a bottle of wine he had been saving for a special occasion. Claire showed up dressed differently too. Quieter, careful, like someone who suddenly realized they were standing on unstable ground. Halfway through the meal, my father cleared his throat. "We've been thinking," he said slowly, "about the future." My mom nodded eagerly. "You have so many opportunities now," she said, "and we're family." There it was. My dad leaned forward. "We think it would make sense," he continued, "to keep the money within the family." I stayed quiet. Let him keep talking. "Claire has the house," he said, "but with your resources, you could help secure it long term." Claire finally spoke. "We could pool things," she said carefully, "create something together." My mom smiled. "Family unity," she repeated. "That's all we want." I looked at each of them, at how relaxed they were, how confident, as if this outcome had always been inevitable. I set my fork down. "Can I ask you something?" I said calmly. They nodded. "Why didn't you say any of this," I asked, "before you knew about the money?" Silence fell over the table. My dad laughed awkwardly. "Well," he said, "things change." I smiled. "Yes," I said, "they do." That night, I went home and opened a folder my lawyer had prepared. It contained a document titled Family Assistance Agreement. It outlined boundaries, limits, conditions, no shared assets, no loans without contracts, no emotional leverage. I printed 3 copies. The next time we met, I placed them on the table. My parents read quietly. Claire's face tightened. My mom's smile faded. My dad's jaw clenched. "This feels cold," my mom said. "No," I replied gently. "This is clarity." They didn't sign. Not then. They said they needed time. That was fine, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for their approval anymore. A week later, my sister called me, crying. Her voice cracked through the phone. "The bank flagged something," she said. "They're saying the down payment source needs to be reviewed." I already knew what that meant. The check, the one my parents had given her. It wasn't as clean as they had made it sound. They had moved money around, borrowed from retirement, shifted funds they hadn't fully disclosed. Now the bank wanted answers. "I don't know what to do," Claire sobbed. "They might delay the closing or cancel it." I listened quietly. Then my phone buzzed. Another call. My mom. I let it ring. Then another. My dad. Finally, a text came through. "We need to talk. Please, this is about family." That word again. Family. We met that evening at my parents' house. They were tense. No wine this time, no smiles. My dad got straight to the point. If you could help cover the gap, he said, just temporarily, we'll pay you back. My mom reached for my hand. We wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious, she said. You know we'd do the same for you. I looked at her. Carefully. Would you? I asked. She hesitated. That was my answer. I stood up and pulled the folder from my bag. The same one as before. The agreement. I can help, I said calmly, but only on my terms. I slid the papers across the table. A loan, interest, clear repayment timeline. No guilt, no favors, no rewriting history. Claire stared at the pages. This feels transactional, she said quietly. I nodded. Yes, I said, that's what money is. They signed, every page. 2 weeks later, the bank approved the closing. Claire got her house. The crisis passed. And just like that, the calls slowed. The dinners stopped. The warmth faded again. But this time, it didn't hurt, because I finally understood something simple and freeing. I was never the joke. I was never the backup. I was just the one they underestimated. And sometimes, the smallest gift at the table is the one that changes everything.